To that. And hop on in.
This is thorough. Thanks.
I just want to thank you all on coming on the Cultivating Spirit Sensational Fusion Experience. We're going to have a wonderful evening tonight. We will head over to High Country Healing for an exclusive dispensary experience and also to go over our recommended cannabis pairing of the night. And then we'll head over to the Frisco Wine Merchant where we'll go through multiple types of wine. That is all geared towards our gourmet meal that we're going to have later on in the evening.
Colorado's recreational marijuana industry is booming. The state voted to legalize recreational weed in 2012 and became the first to start selling it in January 2014. Sales have doubled since then, reaching more than $30 million a month. I've come here to see how the industry is shaping up, which I'm learning involves participating in some surprisingly high-end experiences.
So, sativa, in the most part, is energetic, uplifting, and euphoric. If you smoke this, you're gonna get your peak in 10 minutes. The indica, full body effect from head to toe, you're gonna feel really relaxed, like sedated. A very heavy indica can also give you couch lock, where you're just done. Have your snacks on hand within 15 minutes, otherwise you're not gonna eat. You have to smell this. So it's got like a piney, citrusy scent. On the exhale, you're gonna taste strawberry, and it's a very intense cerebral head high. Very
It's lighter and brighter. It doesn't feel as
Light Look at the visual characteristics of it as well. You're really
By the way, all our plants are grown organic in soil. They're hand watered, hand trimmed, and all the plants listen to music throughout their lives.
It's a lot like the wine tasting.
Yeah. You know, you can really come up with all the different identifying characteristics of it, and yeah, I feel more of that mandarin, very subtle, and then with a really piney aftertaste to it.
Surging demand for cannabis products and services is putting money in the pockets of a whole new class of entrepreneurs in the Mile High State. So right now, you may not be able to see the smoke, but there's a very thick smell of orange. It's a lot like Tang. It's very sweet. I didn't actually smoke myself, but I feel like I did. The munchies are setting in, but there's no pizza or fast food on the Cultivating Spirits tour. Instead, we stop for a 3-course dinner prepared by a gourmet cannabis chef. How is that for you as a chef who needs to really be attuned to all these nuances and you're serving food to people and there are consequences? Do you approach it like a farmer's market? We have long-standing relationships with suppliers. Know exactly where it's coming from and what's better.
I do, and to me that's really important because when I'm putting in my food, I want to make sure that it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? And that I'm dosing people the right way. Because that would be travesty if I you know what I mean? Like, oh, that's 50 milligrams. It turns out to be 500. Woo! You know what I mean? You know, that might turn someone off completely to cannabis for a very long time.
The guests on our tour are Colorado professionals looking to learn more about the finer side of cannabis. When people throw this phrase around, pot barons, I mean, is there a class emerging in Colorado that fit the description?
Is there people who are going to be millionaires off of this? Definitely. You know, is there dispensary owners who've probably made $1 million this year? Definitely. Everyone wants to throw around who's going to be the first pot billionaire.
Are there a lot of investors coming out here?
Yeah, there are a lot of investors coming out here and really trying to hit, you know, the green rush is what they're calling it. And it's great because it's adding a lot of validity to our, you know, to this industry.
It's a whirlwind, really. It's kind of crazy that the industry has come this far. We're excited to be in the forefront.
Jennifer DeFalco and Olivia Mannix are the founders of Cannabrand, a boutique consulting firm that wants to help both industry veterans and newcomers polish their image.
In all of our marketing, we steer clear of all of the cliches that people associate with cannabis consumption. We're trying to just get rid of those labels and get rid of those stigmas associated with labels so that anyone who consumes doesn't feel the burden of a stigma or a label.
So can you tell us a little bit about this advertisement here?
A connoisseur basically is someone who knows good cannabis, just like a sommelier or someone like that, or a connoisseur of cannabis.
If I asked you what your brand identity is, what would you say?
We're the new cannabis consumer.
Yeah.
We're bridging the gap between the traditional cannabis consumer and the new cannabis consumer.
Cannabrand holds branding strategy sessions with their clients. As I watch one, I can't help but notice that so far this up-and-coming industry has looked overwhelmingly white.
I think the most important thing is to have your product be quality from the back end to the front end.
Wanda James is a veteran cannabis activist and former dispensary owner. The cannabis industry is clearly booming in Colorado right now. Why do you think people of color are so reticent to get involved?
I think one, in the black and brown communities, because we have been so beaten up by police harassment over the use of cannabis, there is still a definitive fear of jumping into it, because I think people think, well, what happens if we get a new president, or if the laws change, then we're all going to go back to jail again.
Do you feel that it's still too soon, that there's a lot of stigma and fear because of past experience, that no one really trusts that they can have a meaningful role in this industry and make a legitimate living?
That's exactly the issue, because, you know, if your dad was arrested and did time in prison, you're going to be a lot less likely to do what got your dad arrested, which is now making people millions of dollars.
It's suspect.
It's suspect. And once again, black and brown communities don't trust our government. They definitely don't trust law enforcement. And for our family, we've seen that happen in real life. My brother was arrested at 17 and got given a felony in the state of Texas. My brother received a 10-year sentence for 4.5 ounces of cannabis. And his story is not unique. There's 850,000 of those stories across the nation all the time. Black and brown, mostly boys between the ages of 17 and 24 are the target.
It wasn't dealing, you know what I'm saying? We was smoking, we was partying, you know what I'm saying, kicking it. We was kids.
Wanda's brother Rick spent more than 6 years in a federal penitentiary on possession charges.
Everybody in the penitentiary works. No matter what it is, you work, you know, and because of where I was at, you know what I'm saying, I was picking cotton. Yeah.
You're a teenager picking cotton in Texas.
Yes, sir. 12 years of slavery. I had 3.5, you know. Pick cotton every day. Every day they wake you up at 5 o'clock in the morning, gather you up, everybody go out and pick cotton. Can't come back with less than 100 pounds.
You're coming back into society, you're a felon. What was life like for you?
I tried to do the right thing, you know, get a job here, get a job there, and being a felon, you know what I'm saying, was, they didn't really care what it was. It's just a felon. It's an X on your back, you know. They don't want to take the chance.
Today, Rick manages his sister's restaurant. He'd prefer to work with cannabis, but under current state law, people with drug convictions are barred from working in the industry for 10 years.
We start going through the process of, you know what I'm saying, figuring out what the laws were and what I had to do to, like, you know, grow weed and stuff like that. And went down and they told me, you know what I'm saying, because of my situation, you know what I'm saying, I couldn't get the license to, you know, grow weed. So it was a little hurtful, but whatever.
It's not a bad view up here.
It's probably prettiest view in the state.
Jonathan Singer is a pro-cannabis state representative. He's never smoked pot in his life. Chocolate chip cookie, 7 servings. Oh, so these are pot cookies right here on the steps of the Capitol.
Well, you can see our regulations have worked insofar as they, you know, are in opaque containers that aren't attractive to kids, but there's no warning label for littering, and I'm still pretty sure that's illegal.
Yeah, this one's got 70 milligrams active THC.
Oh, wow.
Are these yours?
Not yet.
In regulating the industry, you wanted to show the federal government that you were serious here. People with past criminal offenses are restricted from entering the industry. Do you feel like there was an overreaction in the way some of that law came out in a bid to say, look, people, you know, we're serious about this?
You know, I think it was a responsible reaction, but also an overreaction, and we didn't have the guidance from the federal government as to whether they were going to come in and stamp all this out with federal raids. We wanted to take the most stringent steps possible to make sure that any criminal element wasn't involved. At the end of the day, though, when you look at winners and losers in the recreational marijuana market, the people that were left out were the people that were probably most affected by the failed experiment of the drug war.
Singer is now part of a push to bring about industry reforms, notably reversing punitive measures for activities that are now legal, which by extension would open up the legal pot industry to people who have been excluded.
The second step then is to find an easy path for people who committed nonviolent drug crimes that maybe still have it on their record. They aren't in jail, but it's still on their record, to make sure that they have an easy, simple path to seal those records. They can petition a judge to say, you know, look, you know, it was a stupid mistake that wouldn't even be considered a stupid mistake anymore.
Yeah, this is the historic black neighborhood in the city of Denver.
Art Way is the Colorado State Director of the Drug Policy Alliance.
I grew up in a high crime area, so-called gang-ridden area around here. All the violence that I suffered as a kid came at the hands of police. You know, I had a cop put a gun to my head when I was like 11 years old.
I've heard that people of color are 2.5 times more likely to get arrested on drug charges than your average white person out here. What does that say about where things stand?
It's all about selective enforcement. That's what's so unjust about the drug war. This is about people being discriminated against and certain policies being used to basically continue historical disenfranchisement of certain communities.
You don't really see a lot of owners of dispensaries or growers who are people of color. Why do you think that is right now?
People grew up in certain neighborhoods that were highly saturated with police. It's hard to escape those areas without maybe a minor marijuana possession charge, and that charge will follow them and prevent them from being in the industry. And then it just takes a lot of capital to get involved. There's something going on with the attorney generals and DAs. You know, they're supposed to represent the people. They could be a lot more friendly and a lot more understanding based on what the science is telling us regarding at least marijuana. But you know, they're kind of stuck in the 80s and you know, the old school kind of propaganda around the harms of marijuana.
Have you ever smoked pot before?
I have not.
John Suthers is Colorado's Attorney General.
I really do believe that culturally, embracing getting high for recreational purposes is a very bad message for young people. I don't think it's good public policy.
Has the war on drugs failed?
It depends upon your perspective. I look at the fact that in 1979, 14% of Americans had used an illicit drug in the last 30 days. We got that all the way down to about 5% by 1992, and it's been gradually moving back up.
There's a bill out there now that would mandate the sealing of records of people who serve time for offenses that are now legal. Would you stand in the way of something like that?
It depends upon the nature of the offense. If they want to seal a 15-year-old marijuana conviction for possession of an ounce or something like that, I don't have a problem with that.
The Attorney General's office wants to limit the scope of the record sealing bill, keeping it narrowly focused on minor pot convictions.
I could be a drug war dinosaur, no question about it. I'm perfectly willing to admit that, and I'm perfectly comfortable with that role. I mean, that's part of generational change. But I'm not so sure that 10 years from now, the majority of Coloradans are going to think this was a great idea.
For now, though, the people involved in this highbrow pot industry couldn't disagree more. And this is what is locally known as the Green Mile. There's 17 dispensaries on this stretch of road right here. It's said that there are more marijuana dispensaries in Denver than there are Starbucks. And this is ground zero for that.
The amazing benefits of this plant, it has the potential to really change the world, and I get real excited about that for the next generation.
It's really high energy. It's just a new industry, and it's definitely the survival of the fittest, as they say.
There are tons and tons and tons of people who want to invest in cannabis because it's a good business. I've been offered investments all the time.
Even those who know the exclusion that legalization is causing are positive.
Anybody who does not think that cannabis has not been an amazing positive, quite frankly, is operating with their head in the sand. Drop in crime, drop in teen use. $75 million will come from tax revenue to the state of Colorado. We've created over 10,000 jobs, over 1,000 businesses, 2,000 grow facilities.
This is a model for the rest of the country?
This is the model for the rest of the country.